Yo, what's going on, everybody? Sorry, I'm running a little bit late today. Just doing a little bit of research and some reading because it's Thursday, June 17th, 2021, and it's happy hour. And today for happy hour, I'm going to be trying something that I got from Unived a long time ago, this MCT Beet-216. Now, I've also been trying their Elite Beet-420. I've actually kind of been enjoying this as a pre-workout. This one's a little bit different, and I want to figure out what the differences really were, and I kind of got lost down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Wish I had more time. I wish I had gotten on it a little bit earlier, but we're going to be trying it today on for happy hour as my recovery beverage of choice for today because it's Thursday, almost to the end of the week, and time to kick back a little bit. For everyone listening on the audio version on the podcast, welcome. Hope you guys are having a good run or getting some good work done and with having this on in the background. And everyone watching this on YouTube after the fact, hopefully it's a little bit later in your Thursday, or maybe your Friday's already begun, and you can kick back with something a little bit more exciting than a recovery beverage. But either way, welcome. Glad to have you guys here. Let's see who we got in the chat. We got Philip. He says, yo, what's going on? 7K in 34 degrees Celsius, 93 degrees Fahrenheit today. That is pretty hot. He ran for the first time in the Novablast version 1, and he got them for only 91 euros to replace his 1080 version 11s. Okay. Which are now retired after, wow, you already have 550K in your 1080 version 11s. It's nice. And they're starting to cause him some niggles, which I think is the exact right reason and the right time that you want to start getting rid of a pair of shoes. So very cool. Hope you enjoyed the Novablast. Yeah, that's a nice transition. I like that. It's a good one. And this is here says, hi, Kapoozing, everybody. Just had a 4-mile run with Pip in the sun through the woods. Nice. Martha's here as well. Hi, Martha. How are you? Recycle on Wednesday says, hi, everyone. JC says, where'd it go? JC says, hey, folks, looking forward to a late afternoon run in 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Good times. Oh, boy. It's not that hot here in Chicago. I mean, it's warming up today. The last couple of days, it's been really cool and windy. It's actually been quite nice. But today, the heat comes back with a vengeance. Yeah, we're going to get some heat. We're going to get some humidity. I think we're going to get some thunderstorms overnight, too. But the good news is, all week, they were forecasting thunderstorms for Friday morning during when I was going to be able to run. Now it looks like it's going to be clear. So hopefully that storm will pass through, and I'll be able to get that run in. All right. Ted Root says, Adazora Prime X, cranky, releasing tomorrow in the UK for 220 pounds. Yeah. It's a crazy shoe. 50 millimeters of stack height. I'm trying to have I mean, we've been talking all week about rules that apply to pros, and there's more news in that regard too. And then rules that apply to regular people. Now, for the vast majority of us, we can run in whatever we want for a road marathon, but technically it's outside the bounds of the rules. 40 millimeters stack height is the max allowable. Although, to talk about how weird that rule is, if you have a larger foot size than I think 8.5, so the size 9s that I run in, I'm not sure. I think Kipchoge is at 8.5, and that shoe comes in right in at 40 millimeters, the Alpha Fly for him. I don't know I think certain larger sizes have a little bit more stack height than 40 millimeters. So if you were, let's say, placing in a World Majors marathon, they would take your shoes and measure them. And if they were over 40 millimeters, even if they're Alpha Flies, straight off the shelf, and you have a size 11 foot, you could be outside the rules. But this one is 50 millimeters. So is it just going to be a trainer, a training racer, or just I don't know. What can you race in that? Maybe, is there going to be an arms race for 50K shoes and 100K shoes? I don't know if World Athletics has a rule for the max allowable stack height for a 50K or a 100K. Now, last year, or not that long ago, we saw the Hoka 100K world record attempt, US record. He got the US record, but not the world record. Is that right? Is this what so I don't even understand what the shoe's about. I want it, of course. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I'm going to have to set an alarm to wake up at 2:00 in the morning because I'm not staying up that late. So I don't know. It's a very peculiar shoe, but I'm very curious. Pete Johnson says, hey, Kapoozing, how's it going? Have you ever tried the New Balance Sierra? I haven't, but it looks great. I love the way it looks. last year's version looked amazing. I just don't run enough trail to like get through a lot of trail shoes. So that one is one that I think I would really enjoy. But I did run in the Fresh Flow More trail, and that one was really good. I feel like that one's the Hero is going to be a little bit more speed oriented, not as much comfort oriented, which might really be right up my alley. So maybe it's one that I'll get to this year. But I mean, like so many shoes are like hopping onto my list, and I'm like, oh, there's so many good ones. But the Hero looks amazing. I've always thought the design on it looks great. I just never got around to it. Martha says, just ate delicious fresh salmon burgers from Whole Foods with Alexis organic sweet potato fries. So they're baked. And a kombucha for happy hour. That sounds nice. That's a great meal. That sounds really good. Salmon burgers. All right. So I've got these Unived MCT Beet-216. It's the MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides. And I'm really not that familiar with the health benefits of medium chain triglycerides. From what I could tell so far, there could be like a health benefit for athletes, but most of the stuff that I'm finding is that it's for people trying to lose weight. So like, I'm not sure like if this is necessarily something that I need to try, but I have been doing the Beet Elite 420, and 420 is double 216 or kind of almost double. And so there's actually less beet in this than there is in the 420, which I've been taking as like a pre-workout. The beetroot powder is supposed to help your muscles take in more oxygen. Something along those lines. So there's supposed to be a benefit for endurance athletes. I don't know, maybe it's a placebo effect, but I feel like when I do drink the beet stuff before my workouts, two things happen. One, I'm going to have to poop. So like I need to make sure that I plan that or time that correctly. And the second thing is I just feel like I can take a deeper breath. So like I like it. But this has less beet in the medium chain triglyceride. I think it comes from coconut. So like I'm not sure. This will be interesting. And Amit at Unived has been emailing me about it. He's like, have you tried it yet? Have you tried it? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'll try it. He's like, you got to try it. You got to try it. And the last time he emailed me, he's like, try it with hot water. So instead of my afternoon coffee for a happy hour today, I put it in hot water. And I tried something different today. I pre-mixed the drink ahead of time, but you could see it's messy. I'm glad I pre-mixed it. The powder, it's kind of like, it was almost like wet sand in there. And then you have to put a lot of it into 8 ounces. So like there was a lot going on in here, but we'll give it a taste. We'll see how we're doing. Cheers, guys. This is an interesting drink. It has that beet flavor that is familiar from drinking that other beet thing. And there's like almost like a watered down coffee kind of flavor to it as well. Like if someone gave this to me and said like, this is coffee with chicory, I'd be like, yeah, I told you guys I don't like coffee with chicory. But I'm trying to think if it smells or tastes like coconut. I don't think so. I just smell like that beetroot. But it doesn't like dissolve all that well. But there's something about it. It doesn't taste, it just tastes like beet drink. But after I drink it, I'm like, let's get some more. So I don't know if that's those fats that are in there that my body is like tasting without me like, consciously tasting it. Maybe my body is just like perking up to it. So there's something about it that makes me want to drink some more. It's an interesting drink. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about like my coffee content, and I listen to a lot of Rich Roll, and he talks about like all those like mushroom coffees. Is coffee the right word for that? Things that he drinks, or is he just drinking like mushroom teas? I'm not sure, but so I'm like, maybe I could use substituting out one of my coffees a day for something like this. Maybe this Beet-216. I'm kind of liking the taste. There's a savoriness to it that is pleasant, but then it smells like that beet drink. I don't know. My palate and my nose is all sorts of confused. Daniel M says he's got chai and water. Seems too late for coffee for me. See, that's the thing. Like I feel like the afternoon coffees, as much as I enjoy them and I feel like they're an indulgence, is it really an indulgence if I'm doing it every day in the afternoon? And, it's probably affecting my sleep. So, and Lisa Sarah says, yo, what's going on? Daniel M says, by the way, I think NPR released a new article about Burrito Gate. I thought it was good. I haven't seen that one. my wife did send me an article from NPR about how cruise ships are trying to start sailing again out of Florida, where DeSantis has made it like illegal for them to require passengers be vaccinated. So they were like, fine. And they relented. And now they can't sail their first ships. One was supposed to head out in July, but they can't because like crew members that were getting the ship ready have tested positive. So, but anyway, that's the last NPR article I read. But some of the new news, Dr. Long 1216 says beets, Bears beets battles during Galactica. Oh man. The new news that I saw is Shelby Houlihan, who is this at the center of Burrito Gate, I guess, is going to be allowed to compete in the track trials. She got like re-entered into the heats, and the USATF said that because she's an athlete in the middle of a lengthy appeal, they're going to allow it. And the unanimous response from the internet seems to be like, "What the heck is that?" So I don't even understand. I don't understand. But I have been reading like a lot. I mean, most of the stuff that I'm getting is from Twitter, but it's not from like new people. I don't know who they are. It's from people who I've been following in the running community for a long time. They're doing research. I'm reading the stuff that they're citing too, and it just, the more you look into it, the more it just seems unlikely that it came from that. I mean, the thing that I would talk about, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like tactical decisions that were made given like the finding, right? So let's assume for a moment that Shelby Houlihan's like, what the heck happened? I don't know what this is. And they're like, we got to figure out something how do we explain this? And my guess is they looked at every single supplement she's taking. They could probably trace the batches. And they probably tested all. My guess is that they tested all those batches for every single thing that she's taking. They probably came up with nothing. And so then they were like, all right, food log as well. So, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know like how you decide like to go with the food theory. And then, I mean, like, and her lawyer is someone who's helped another athlete navigate like the food defense before. And so like, I'm sure that they looked at supplements too, because everyone's like, oh, supplements, you never know what's in those. Even I kind of said that yesterday. And as I drink my MCT Beet-216. But, be good in that? Some chocolate or maybe coffee. I think maybe if I pour my coffee onto it, I think that'll be a really good drink, but that doesn't help my coffee problem. But yeah, I mean, so like it's like a contaminated supplement seems to make much more sense, but then there's batch numbers and stuff with all that. So like I mean, just looking at this stuff on the back, there's batch numbers, right, from the manufacturing date, so they could test. Even if like I've used this entire thing, I can go back and test. So like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like, but like, in either event, like, I don't know why they're allowing her to compete, even if she's completely innocent. And I hope that she is in a way. I mean, not in a way. I mean, I hope that she is. It's unfortunate if she's going through all this and she's innocent of it. But like, I mean, and I hope that like that's the best case scenario, is that like she was unfairly accused. I mean, is that worse or is that better? I'm not sure. None of the situations are good. But like when you have an accused athlete whose appeal has already been decided, I don't know. I don't know why you would let them compete. So I don't know. Just Eddie says, "Hey, Coop, was off the topic question. What are your opinions on working your body's fascia?" I've been thinking about that. I'm guessing, Just Eddie, that you may have just read Lost Art of Running. That's where I started thinking about that myself from a runner's perspective, because I listened to that book on audiobook. And I've been thinking about it a lot in terms of my knee issue that I ran into last year. Not ran into, but encountered last year or developed last year. And also, I'm someone that looks at themselves running in slow motion all the time. And so I have always said like I run kind of funny. And so I've been thinking about like, how can you correct, certain things in your body to improve flexibility so that things are kind of moving in more fluid alignment. So that's something that I'm thinking about and playing around with myself. I think it kind of makes sense. I'm not sure, like in the Lost Art of Running book, like they talk about like that the fascia is a low energy consumption, but high energy production because of the springiness of the body's fascia, of creating momentum and speed. So like I'm interested in that concept, but like, it's kind of like you can't get something for nothing, right? But if you can maximize the way the body's supposed to work, then that kind of makes sense. So I'm not trying to like break the laws of thermodynamics and get free energy, but just trying to say like, let's make everything work the way it's supposed to and align things in the way they're supposed to be aligned and see what happens. So, when I talk about like having a clean foot strike, I'm thinking about like, working in a way so that way my body gets accustomed to working with everything in the correct alignments. So that way things like the fascia can start remodeling itself in a way that's more flexible and more resilient for running. And also so that way the joints and muscles can also function the way they're supposed to. So, and Just Ace, so that's the book that I'm on right now. So that's something that I am thinking about. I don't know. I don't have like a coach or someone that's like helping me through that, but I kind of walk like a duck. If you watch me just like walking around, and I'm trying to think, all right, maybe if I work on pointing my feet forward, not just like pointing them forward, but like working on the parts of my body that are like aligning itself. So that way my default position isn't kinked out. Maybe that will help with other things that need alignment. He says we need fascia activation. Yeah, that's another rabbit hole I guess we can go down. Chris Dyke says, speaking of burritos, I plan on getting Chipotle for the first time in over a year after this afternoon's run. Are you influenced to get some burritos? I've been seeing on Twitter, I've been spending a lot of time on Twitter this past week because of everything that's happening. Twitter's been really like fascinating place to be this week for me. And Hoka and NAZ Elite have been posting like different meetups and a schedule of activities, places where you can interact with them over the course of the track trials, and which I think is super cool. And I'm like, oh man, that was an event I should have gone to, or I wish I could have gone to, or gotten tickets or something like that. And then like a little while ago, Scott Fauble tweeted like, "Yep, come and see me." Cause I think his words were like, help me forget about the fact that I have to be in Eugene for the weekend or something like that. And I was like, are there going to be sandwiches at any of these events? So just because I'm like, I don't know how. I mean, I wonder how many burrito questions that guy's gotten already and is gonna get over the next week. So yeah. All right. Sorry. Like I went on a tangent and I ignored like a lot of your comments here. I'm gonna scroll back a little bit. Richard McLean says, ironically, Jason Koop has been running a series on anti-doping on his podcast. Part one of this series from a few weeks ago was an interview with the scientists from USADA. Good insights on how and what they do. Yeah, I've been following it a little bit. It gets a little bit intense for me and a little bit abstract, but maybe like in light of everything that's been going on, maybe it's worth a re-listen. I mean, the main thing that I listened to, I didn't know his background with like whatever coaching group that happened to also coach Lance Armstrong or whatever. There was like some sort of like a potential, I guess, taint, which is a weird word, with him and doping. So like he had to address it first. So that was, I mean, I guess it's good timing. I mean, or to the extent that any of this stuff had to happen, at least like the conversation's like already in place. Dr. Funk 1216 says, what would make this drink better? It's some anabolic steroids. Yeah, I don't do steroids have a taste? Does anyone know? I don't know. Here's the thing I was thinking about. They may be making this big deal about like the greasy burrito and stuff. And like people have been like, how much you'd have to eat 11 ounces of uncastrated boar offal. And someone was like, it's pretty much impossible to get uncastrated boar offal in the United States, even if you're a traditional Mexican restaurant, whatever insinuations you're supposed to infer from that. By the way, for whatever it's worth, I'm just glad she didn't say it was like a Chinese food truck, but that's a side note. But I wonder, like one of the things was like, yes, she did not eat a pork burrito. She ate carne asada, but it was very greasy carne asada. But that also makes me think, like, if there were steroids somehow in the pork and they cooked it on the same griddle or whatever, or maybe they cooked it in the rendered fats, like steroids are fat soluble, aren't they? So like it could get rendered out in that. And then if it were, but again, you need to eat 11 ounces of offal, or I'm not sure. So like, it's just like weird, not a lot of weird things, but I ultimately goes back to the question. I wonder if you could I feel like someone spiked my drink here. Like, could you do that? Could people do that? I don't know. C76 says, next video, Kofuzi will eat a variety of burritos and get drug tested. Yeah. I'd have to eat a bunch of different animal burritos, though. I don't really want to do that anymore. I mean, I did have pork tacos from a food truck after a race. My last race, I did. But my approach to food and eating meat is one of social omnivore, I guess. If that's the only thing that's being offered, then I will in a social setting, I'll eat it. And usually that rule kind of applies like if I'm a guest in someone's house. But there were some extenuating circumstances at this food truck. Their generator kept going out and we were in the middle of nowhere. And so they're like, you can either wait a while till maybe we figure out this generator thing, but there's these 2 pork tacos that are ready right now. And I was like, I'll take the tacos, please. So I did that. So I guess I could have been more restrained about it. But I was like, I probably need to eat something. All right. Let's scroll down a little bit towards the end. See what else we got here. All right. Carol Gutowski says, I don't think steroids are in drinkable form, more often pills or injection. I mean, I wouldn't even know. I mean, they could be in creams. And like that's why like if you do get like certain kinds, I mean, I don't know about anabolic steroids, but like like steroid creams that you can give kids, like if they have like skin conditions or something like that, like pregnant women aren't supposed to handle it because it can get absorbed through the skin. So you got to be careful with it. And that's the whole idea, that you put it in the cream during a sports massage, then it can be absorbed that way. That was kind of like the Alberto Salazar thing, right? So, but I don't know. But I'm in territory that I've never researched, really cared about. So I'm learning a lot. I'm getting a lot thrown at me this week. Terry Furlong says, top athlete goes to a greasy roadside food vendor for an after workout meal. I think not. I mean, I think people are like that. And then like all sorts of professional athletes were like, again, on Twitter, a lot of pro athletes were like, for what it's worth, I'm not saying I side with her or against her or whatever, but just to address the whole like pro athletes don't eat burritos things. I'm a pro athlete and I eat burritos. People are, and like in Oregon, food trucks are part of, I mean, I don't know where you're from, Terry. Maybe you are in Oregon, but like food trucks are, when I was in, I mean, I've never been to Eugene. She's in Eugene, right? I've never been there, but I've been to Portland, I think once, twice. The food truck scene is insane. It's really amazing. You get really good food from all over the world there. Frank said, didn't they hand out food at the Crater post race? Yeah, it was like the post, instead of post race beers, it was post race tacos. So there was a food truck that came up, and their generator to power, I guess they use the generator to power the truck. I'm not sure how food trucks work, but it kept going in and out. That's the generator that I heard, that I got really excited at the end of the race, and I was looking for like where that sound was coming from to see how much more of the race I had left, and that's when I fell. But that same generator apparently went out like right between the time I fell and when I crossed the finish line. Martha says, a friend of mine who's a massage therapist told me a story about a massage he gave to a woman whose estrogen pass ended up in his arm. He didn't notice until he was in his car and started feeling very odd. Oh, whoa. That could be weird. How? I mean, I guess like you're getting in there, but what happens if you get estrogen? I don't know. Luis Becerra says, you should buy a stuffed toy burrito and get it out when you cross the finish line in the Chicago Marathon. I mean, I'm not trying to like dunk on anybody or like, you know, troll anyone either. I think it's a crappy situation. But I mean, just the fact that there's a burrito at the center of the story just makes it like lampoonable, you know? So that's the thing. So he says, I'll take 2 pork tacos, please. That's exactly what I had for lunch. Should I be worried? I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, yeah. I mean, people are like, yeah, it's been a weird rabbit hole. So, cause like some people are like, you know, if that can happen from eating pork, then shouldn't like many more. I mean, what athletes aren't eating burritos these days, right? Look at Athlete Special. He's eating Chipotle all the time. Look at Scott Fauble. He's eating burritos all the time. I eat burritos. I mean, my kids, I mean, not saying that like, not saying that Chipotle is authentic Mexican food or that Chipotle's pork carnitas has offal in it, like pig organs, right? I'm not saying any of those things, but as far as eating burritos, you know, when there was a Chipotle near the bus stop by my kid's school, we were eating, we play a game called Bus or Burrito. In the wintertime, if it's cold, if we see a bus about to come, we'll wait for the bus. If we don't see a bus about to come, then we'll go into to Chipotle and get a burrito while we're waiting for the next bus. So like, you know, we eat burritos all the time too. I'm not saying I'm a pro athlete either, but I think in the running community, I mean, everyone loves burritos, not just the running community. So that's the thing. That's why it's like, I don't know. Strange stuff. Strange stuff. Stevie76 says, maybe it was a Russian conspiracy that Biden should have addressed with Putin, the burrito summit. Well, I mean, there are some people like suggesting that like maybe her food was spiked. They were saying like, didn't she have like a boyfriend that she split up with right around that time? Which I'm like, yeah, I mean, crazier things have happened in terms of Olympic stories. But, I mean, to dose somebody, that's a whole different level of psycho. Right? I mean, that's. I mean, think about how mad Chris Farley got when someone switched his gourmet coffee at the restaurant with Folgers crystals, right? So you can't be dosing people. But, you know, it does happen to be happening at the same. Well, I mean, it's not like it happened at the same time. It happened back in January, right? But the news is hitting the same time as, you know, if we're gonna chase this rabbit hole, drive it down the rabbit hole. At the same time as the Biden-Putin summit, you know, and Russia's like, does Russia even have an Olympic team this year? Like, right? I don't even know what the story is, but I haven't been following it that close. But like, you know, it could be. Olympics are very political from like a geopolitics kind of thing, not political in like red state, blue state, but like from nations competing and jockeying against each other. So it's like, you know, maybe it was like a situation where Shelby Houlihan's like, oh, look at this, a brand new food truck I've never seen before. And like inside it's full of Russians. Yes, you try our authentic Mexican food. You enjoy, you know? Yeah, I mean, that sounds ludicrous, right? But can you imagine if that's what it really was? And she's like, no one's going to believe that this was Russian spies. So I got to talk about this pig offal. Colton Meyer says, so you have a morning poop routine? Not a routine, but I'm very regular. I'll say that. Running helps with that for me quite a bit. So I'll usually poop right in the morning when I wake up. And then if I do take like a pre-workout, if it's a sugar-based pre-workout, it's not usually a problem. But a lot of the Unived pre-workout stuff, like there's one that's like just basically all ashwagandha, or this like elite beet stuff. I don't know if it's just that like I'm normally running fasted, and so like anything in my belly would really do it, but the sugary drinks don't tend to do it. But like that stuff, like if in about 30 minutes, I'm gonna probably at least want to go to the bathroom again, and then if I don't, I may have a difficult time during the run. So those are just some things that I've become aware of about my body. Stevie76 says the ex-boyfriend is a KGB agent. My cows, of course. When I go to a food truck, I always ask about the castration status of the pig. Yeah. A lot of people are like, you can't get that in the United States. So, Chris says, curious why none of the YouTubers received the Adios Pro 2 Primex prior to release, or should we expect to see the reason in coming days when embargo removed? I don't know. What is it like? Outrun? They're out of Thailand. They've got them. They've been tagging me in pictures all the time, and I'm just like, I'm so jealous. These look great. Everyone's talking about how ugly these shoes are. And I'm like, I don't know. They're not like the sleeper shoes to the extent that a bright yellow Adidas super shoe can be a sleeper shoe. They don't, look like that, have the classic racer look like the Adidas Adizero line has had in the past. But I like it. I like what's going on here. And so, yeah. But I don't get stuff from it. Well, that's not true. I do get stuff from Adidas. Well, you know what I get from Adidas? I get the 4D. They send me. I do have a pair of the new 4Ds. Thomas ran in them already. He didn't. And then I saw another person. I don't know who they are, but they tried running in them, and they're like, "These are great casual shoes." So I'm not, optimistic about it. But I get 4Ds from Adidas, but that's it. They don't send me anything else. I don't think they send a lot of stuff to the U.S. as far as I can tell. Or maybe they send stuff to Seth, but I don't get it. So that's probably the reason why I don't think they participate. Ines Dunbar says, I've only been to the U.S. for a week, and even I have had Chipotle. That's funny. Ash Kandokar says, your thoughts on the Bondi SR? Hoka, thanks. I think that it's for people that have jobs where they're on their feet. The SR stands for slip resistant. And so there's extra traction on the bottom, and it's extra flat on the bottom. So that way, if you're working in a place that requires like non-skid shoes, then the Bondi SR is for you. For example, if you're working in the food service industry, where you're walking through like an industrial kit, like a, not industrial, but like a restaurant kitchen, where it could either be greasy on the floor or it could be wet on the floor from like dishwashing and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about. A lot of times the Bondi are worn by hospital workers too. And that's another situation where, there might be wet floors and you have to have slip resistant shoes. You can't wear just anything. So that's what the Hook Bondi SR is for. I guess you can run in them, but that's not what they're designed for. Tina says, just got back from a run, joined the live stream, and it's poop talk standard. Yeah, pretty much. Martha says, how about the Audio 6? I wasn't going to review the Audio 6, but now I think I'm going to have to because of the way that the Boston 10 turned out. It's just so different than any other Bostons before. I'm wondering, my hypothesis is that, I don't know if I left this in the video or if I took it out. My hypothesis is that like the Audio 6 became like this race flat that used to be what people would run marathons in, but now it just became so, it kind of stayed the same, but everyone thinks it's like, oh, it's like a race flat for 5Ks maybe. And so like the use case for it seems to have gone away. And so like if they bump up the Boston to be like a Audio Speed compared to like a Endorphin Pro Endorphin Speed, like an Audio Speed, then you move the Audio 6 into the like a new Boston, and then like the things like the Takumi Sen or the RC 2.0 can do what the Audio 6 was doing. Then you have some different layers of shoes that make sense instead of like you got a lot of shoes that all kind of do the same thing. And what's the difference between a Takumi Sen RC 2.0 SL20 and the Audio 6 really? There's some differences, yeah, but they all are kind of like the same use case. So I think, I'm hoping the Audio 6 is that. Ed seems to really like it. I haven't seen his videos on it. I'm trying to stay away from it, but you guys keep telling me that he's really enjoying it. And I see his comments every once in a while saying that about, in other places about how much he likes it. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to get to it. Yeah, I have a lot of running to do. I think, I've just got so many shoes still. It's a great problem to have. I can only run so much. So I'm like, well, I do have a lot of fast running coming this month, at least for the next month, getting ready for the steeplechase. I've been watching a lot of steeplechase videos lately. So I've been watching a lot of steeplechase. And that'll require a lot of faster running. So that could be a good opportunity to test some of these. PG's here. He said he just got in from a 10K. Nice. How are you, Pete? And Shannon says, loved your Boston video. Not even interested in getting them. Couldn't figure out if you enjoyed running them. Firm and super heavy doesn't sound like a good time. Yeah, I mean, at slow, it's not good. So, a lot of people love them because they're versatile. You could do everything. It was kind of like for a lot of, I think, especially smaller runners, it was the perfect daily trainer. I don't think it's that anymore. It's a different shoe. So, if you're like, is this a good Boston? I don't think it's a good Boston. But is it a good shoe? It is for what you're trying to do with it. And so maybe it's kind of getting into that tempo next percent category where a lot of people are like, I don't know, I don't like this shoe. But some people that love it are like, what are you using it for? And if you're using it for that, then it's great. So it's becoming a more specific shoe, I think. So, and when you're doing that specific thing, it is good. But always in the back of my mind is, but the Adios Pro is better. So it's like, it seems like a compromise to me in a lot of ways as well. Frank, talking about the Ideas 40, he says, I should have made the ugly shoe bracket. I really want the 40 technology to work. I love the concept of it. It's very Westworld to me, and I'm just fascinated with the way that the midsole looks. So I'm constantly rooting for it, but it always comes out heavy, like 12 ounces heavy, heavier than the Hoka 10.9 heavy. You know what I mean? So that's the big thing. Yeah. PJR says, hey, question about the Path shorts and liners. Do you match the inseam length for the liners or go one size shorter? I've got some 5-inch shorts and liners, and the liners seem longer than the shorts. Yeah, I would just say with the Path Project shorts, get the shortest liners that you can or running underwear that you can, because then you can wear them with all your different shorts. Because I got mostly 5-inch shorts from Path Project, but I have a couple of the 7-inch. And then I have an equal number of shorter liners and longer liners. And I'm always like, are the short liners dirty again? I have to wear different shorts today. So just get the shortest ones. As long as your body's okay with it, chafing wise, and get the shortest ones because then you can use them for whatever one. Drew Reed says, every time I go back to the USA to visit my sister and parents, I met with a Chipotle steak burrito, and then we make a stop at the local Mexican restaurant, and I pick out on queso sauce. That sounds amazing. My mom, if she could, she would do that, but with Korean food. She would. Well, I mean, one time, this was pre 9/11, but or maybe it wasn't. I'm not sure. But one time, my mom and my sister flew to visit where I was living in St. Louis, and my mom brought as carry-on on the plane 2 things. She made my sister carry one of them. One was a little rice cooker, this was before Amazon, so it was kind of hard to get a rice cooker, kind of, but I could have if I really wanted to. And I didn't ask her to, but she brought as carry-on a little rice cooker for me. She made my sister carry it, and then she carried on 5 pounds of kalbi, which is marinated beef short rib. She froze it the night before and then carried it on the plane, hoping that it would stay cold enough for the entire trip. It was fine. I mean, I ate it all and it was no problems. But yeah. Can you imagine if you're sitting down and then a little Asian lady sits down next to you and you're getting your laptop out during the flight and she's getting out marinated barbecue? Raw marinated barbecue. That's funny. One of the last times that I went back to New York, every time I go back, not one of the last times. Basically, every time I go back, and if my parents are picking me up from the airport, we go from the airport straight to a Korean restaurant, like directly. And it's either a sundubuchip, like a house that does like a soft tofu stew, like a silken tofu stew, super spicy. A lot of the same flavor profiles like shinramen, so it's really, really good. Or we'll go to, there's one, like their favorite current one, I forget what it's called, but it's up in Queens. Really, really good. And if I fly in during the day, you get the lunch special, and so you could just eat like a king. It's amazing. But yeah, isn't it great when you get like food, like to greet you? A family is greeting you is also good, but to have the food, because then you've been on a flight, you're probably hungry, you probably woke up early, and then you get comfort food. It's nice. It's nice. Crabosity says, do you prefer the Boston 10 to the Adizero Pro? No. Wait, to the Adizero Pro? Okay, the Adios Pro and the Adizero Pro. To the Adizero Pro, yes. Because I feel like the weights are similar, but the performance is much better on the Boston 10. That Adizero Pro, they should just stop selling that shoe. I don't know who's buying it. Giuseppe Angelucci says, the Mizuno Wave Rider 25 on my radar. I get stuff from Mizuno from time to time. If they send it to me, then I might take a look at it. But otherwise, it's not really high on my list. I really want Mizuno to, it's kind of like, all right, Jamie got A6 grade again. Now do Mizuno, right? That's kind of where I'm at. My first marathon I ever ran was in Mizuno shoes. So like, there's like a sentimental connection there, and I always want them to be great. But I didn't. The Mizuno Wave Rider, what did I run in? The 24? Was it the 24? The 23? Last year, I got the Peachtree Road Race Edition. It was a good shoe. It wasn't exciting, So we'll see about the Wave Rider 25. I'm not sure. My mouse died. It doesn't die, it just falls asleep. All right. Martha says carry-on or carrion. Carrion could end up in an authentic burrito and really fail a drug test. It was beef, so it was okay. It would have been fine. All right. Isayo bin Liam M. I'm sorry. I'm sure I didn't say that right. It says, hi, Mike. Clifton 8 or Boston 10? Which did you prefer? They're just so different. It's like trying to compare like two different classes of car. Like, like sedan and like sports car. It's like, which one do you like better? It's like define better, right? So depending on the parameters, it could be real different. They're just very different shoes. But if you just want me to say, which do I prefer? I don't know. That's a good question. Without specifying which one is better, like what is going into better, if I'm just like, what is better? Probably the Clifton 8. I don't know. It depends on what you mean by better, or how I'm defining my preference. But yeah. Drury says, all this Boston and food talk, especially barbecue, makes me think of all the awesome Brazilian barbecue spots in Boston. Starting to get super hungry for all you can eat meat. I guess there wasn't any specific reason why those would be extra closed or something like that. Would there? Oh, maybe there would be. I don't know. I haven't eaten inside a restaurant in such a long time. There was one time I went inside one of the restaurants that we go to a lot here to go get like pickup food. And like there was lots of people eating inside. This was a while ago before I was vaccinated. So several months ago. And I was just like, there's still a lot of people in here. And I just felt really nervous about it. And I'm like, I'm not going to eat inside for a long time. And now that it's summer, I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and wait as long as possible for that. I got invited to do like a podcast. And I was like, and they were like, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast. And I was like, sure, I'd love to be on the podcast. Can we do it outside? And then I haven't heard back yet. So I'm guessing they're like, screw this guy. That's okay. Yeah. James Edwards says, let's make Mizuno great again. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I think that like what they could do is use ASIC's example as a roadmap too. And I think they're kind of starting to do that. They did that with the Wave Rider Neo, right? That had it was the Wave Rider, but with all NRZ foam, which is like, I don't know why they called it that. That's a weird name for it, for an Asian company to call something NRZ foam. Like, you're kind of walking into the jokes on that one. But yeah, but I've seen they didn't release that shoe in the US. It was only released in Europe, I think in Europe and Asia, but it was still really heavy. And so it's like, I feel like they need to go with like, ASICS has like the Nimbus and the Nimbus Lite. That might be a way of like satisfying the faithful while also like making strides to go in a new direction and not letting your legacy become a hindrance, to reaching new customers or reconnecting with customers. So, I think that's something I hope that they do. All right. Daniel Sudo says, quick question. Between two shoes, Endorphin Speed, last year's model, or New Balance Fuel Cell Rebel 2, they're at a similar price point with the Endorphin's recent discount. Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried the Rebel 2 yet. So I can't say for sure, but everyone seems to love the Rebel 2. And runners who tend to like the same kinds of shoes for similar reasons as me have been saying how much they like it. So I'm really excited for it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But the way that I tend to think of it is like the discounts on the Endorphin series right now is insane. They're like giving them away, basically. So I would say pick up an Endorphin Speed now, Speed version 1 now. By the time you're done with it, you'll be ready for version 2 of the Rebel, and you might be able to get it on discount. So you can still have both. Or you could just get both and have a super fun summer and run in a lot of great shoes, so. Scuff Poseidon says, do you have a recommendation on Theragun Mini versus Theragun Prime? I've never tried any Theragun products, so I can't comment. Yes, I'm afraid I don't know. Being INF says, can't wait to hear a full review on the More version 3. Do you feel that the 100 miles will come quickly? I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think I've already got 30 miles in on them. 20 miles, 30 miles. But I do have a lot of speed work that's going to have to come up next, getting ready for this steeplechase that I'm in. I still can't say it without giggling a little bit, but I'm in a steeplechase. And or I'm entered in a steeplechase. So like I feel like I got to do some track work. I've got to buy some spikes and kind of practice that. And I've also got to do some hurdle drills and stuff. So I don't, that may mean like that means a lot of recovery runs needed. So maybe there's that. But then there's still, also a lot of other shoes. So I'm hoping I get there quickly. I anticipate getting there quickly because I like the shoe a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's like old Hoka to me is what like the feeling that I get from it. So it's fun in that way. I mean, it's big and it's kind of like clunky looking. Doesn't feel clunky to run in, but it's clunky looking. But it's fun. So I hope I get there fast. I just don't know what it's gonna like actually look like. I don't know if it's this beet powder or what, this beet drink, but I have hiccups now. But it's weird. It's like I'm drinking. It's if I mixed beet stuff into my coffee. It's good and not good at the same time. It's just a weird combination of flavors. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's basically coconut fat, like coconut oil that's in it, or coconut fat. It's good. My body is just like, get some more of that. Get some more of that. So, Leisure Showing says, what is a steeple race? A steeple race, the race is called steeplechase. It's an event on the track. It is 3,000 meters long, and there are not regular hurdles, but barriers. They look like railroad ties, but they're painted black and white. There's 4 of them per lap, and then the 5th one is over a water pit. So like, it felt like, I run through water all the time. Not that like means I'm going to be good at steeplechase, but it has me thinking, And when I first started thinking about it a lot is when there was a lot of water damage happening over on the lakefront. And they put these barriers out to keep people from going to certain parts of the lakefront path. I kept going in there anyway, and I would just hurtle over the barrier. So I'm like, I know those barriers weren't as high as a steeple barrier, but I was like, all right, I'm running through the water. I'm jumping over these things as I'm running. I might as well sign up for a steeplechase. I did a search on, I read up on like, this is how I prepare for my first steeplechase. I looked up steeplechase on Wikipedia, and it says that it comes from old foot races that used to happen from steeple to steeple, like one town to another. And then you basically, the first one to get from the church to the next church would win. And you'd have to run over barriers and through water and stuff like that. So that's where there's jumping and stuff, I guess, according to Wikipedia. But it's an event, I guess, that's been competed in a long time for the men in the Olympics. But for the women, it's relatively recent. And American women are doing pretty well in it. So it gets like a lot of publicity, and, you know, it's been on my mind. It's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know. It's calling to me. I got to try it. So we'll see how it goes. Stephen Anstey says, question, Mach 4 are Rebel version 2 for long, slow distance. I haven't tried the Rebel version 2, so I can't really answer that. But the Mach 4 is really good for long, slow distance. It's a good one. There's a lot of letters in that question. Like acronyms, I guess, abbreviations. Tenru says, what height are the steeple jumps? They're 36 inches high. I Googled it last night. So yeah. For the women, I believe it's 30 inches. For men, it's 36 inches. So I'm trying to remember, like, is that the same height as the intermediate? Like the 400 intermediate hurdle height? Because if it is, then I think I'm good. I have a feeling it's taller than that. Probably by a lot. It's not going to be as high as like a high hurdle for like the 110. So, you know, I'm going to have to find a way to practice somehow. You know what I'm thinking is, like, if we're going to spend some time in Iowa, maybe I'll just have my father-in-law help me build a barrier. Maybe I'll just get one of he has some sawhorses, you know, and maybe I'll just put like something on top of his sawhorse and just practice running over it in the driveway or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it might get old school. I'm just gonna put some Rocky theme, like montage music on when I'm doing that. I'm gonna just set it out like in the middle of a field, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I was looking on Amazon, like, how much do hurdles cost? And they're expensive. So like that was something else I was looking at. So I don't know. But then I'm like, well, maybe I can have him help me make some like PVC pipe things that I can use for drills and practice, you know. He's very handy. He knows how to put kind of those things together. He's like, every time I'm asking him something weird like that, he's like, show me some plans. I can make it. And I'm like, all right, but like, I need you to help me make the plan. He's like, what are you trying to make? I'd be like, a steeple. He'd be like, what? So I don't know how I'm going to practice that part. But, you know, I was in the steeple races that I've been watching recently. Like, you know, I was watching like the NCAA championships happened very recently. That was a fantastic race. For the men and the women. And, you know, as I'm looking at these hurdlers, you know, I'm not saying that they're bad hurdlers. By no means am I saying that. They're great. They're at the top of their field. They're in the NCAA championships. But, you know, their form doesn't look like a 110 hurdler form. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you know, they are surviving with, you know, looking like they're just distance runners hopping over stuff. But then you watch people like on Instagram, like Sage Watson, you know, post a lot of her workouts. She does a lot of hurdle work, and it's just like, man, she's really good at this. So yeah, I see a lot of other, you know, so like, I don't know if like, the hurdles have me a little bit worried. But as far as I understand, the rules are like, you just have to get over it. There's no rules on how you have to get over it. So, you know, at worst case scenario, I can like put my hands on it and throw a leg over, you know, like it's like a Police Academy movie or something, you know. So I feel like, you know, again, my goal for this summer is to not get yelled at by someone that enjoys a sport for me appearing to make a mockery of it. No one yelled at me at the 50K Ultra, even though I cut the course on accident. I'm hoping that I don't get yelled at this steeplechase, and you know, trying to not get yelled at as I train for this triathlon. So don't, you know, that's my goal. Just don't get yelled at. Try to look like I belong there, kind of thing. BY says steeplechase is old-timey parkour. I think so. I think so. I have a feeling though, like the old steeplechase races were also like combined with like a lot of booze, right? So like a couple of dudes drinking in a pub, and like, there's no way you could get to Manchester before I can, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to leave it for today, guys. It's been a fun conversation. We went all over the place, didn't we? But I had a lot of fun with it. Speaking of triathlon, that's what tomorrow's video is going to be about. I didn't get a lot of swim footage. I've been having some problem with my cameras lately. A lot of user error. I don't think it was user error. Something's going on with my GoPro. I might be ready for another GoPro. But I didn't get a lot of swimming footage of it, but I had a real tough time of it. I talked to you guys a little bit about it the other day, but that's kind of like, we'll be kind of doing a check-in on my swimming progress. It'll be tomorrow's video. And then we'll do another live stream for the afternoon, same time as today, 1 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully I'll see you guys then. And in the meantime, be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.